How's it going, everybody? This is Beat the Bush. Today I'm going to compare these portable espresso makers. This one is the Outin Nano and this one is the Conqueco. Both of them can make Nespresso pods. However, the Outin Nano comes with the ground coffee pods and also a tamper. You can buy the Conqueco with the ground coffee pod as well. However, that increases the price, and depending on the deals and offers at the time, they're very similarly priced. The Conqueco has a power button and a brew button. The Outin just has one button, but you can do the same thing. If you press it once, it'll show the battery power. The Conqueco has 3 bars of indicator, whereas the Outin Nano has 4 bars. The lid on the Conqueco is made out of aluminum, whereas it is plastic on the Outin. If you uncover them, the inside on both of them has a rubber seal, and the weight, of course, is a little bit heavier on the Conqueco. The capacity on both of them is 80 ml. The only indicator line is the 40 ml mark on the Conqueco, whereas the Outin, you want to default to 50 ml or 70 ml. The Conqueco is plastic in the boiler cup, whereas it is fully stainless steel in the Outin Nano. Since it gets hot at the bottom and essentially boils your water in here, personally I don't like that this is plastic here. Let's take a look at the cups that it brews into. This one is a clear, hard plastic. The Outin has a little bit more give to it. It seems like it's more resistant to cracking, so your usage miles may vary. Let's look at the pod container. On the Conqueco, there are some bare screws that you can see. One single nozzle for the water to come out. On the Outin Nano, it's completely sealed. Let's open up the Conqueco pod. For the Conqueco, there's one single spike to pierce the pod, whereas on the Outin Nano, it pierces it in 3 different spots. On the other side of the pod where the coffee comes out, you have a very similar grid that kind of creates many tiny holes in the pod. And on the underside, you can see the nozzle. There's a whole bunch of little holes in here that might make it difficult to clean. There's also 2 exposed screws. As long as you clean it with a brush, it should be okay. I can't really tell exactly what material it is, but usually when it's this fiber reinforced plastic, it can withstand higher temperature. This type of plastic appears pretty typical in consumer devices. Let me put a pod in here. It's kind of weird, it doesn't really stick in there. You just gotta drop it in, I guess, and shut it with this. I think it pierced it as I turned this in there. The Outin Nano is a bit different because you can just push it in. It will pierce it as you push it in. Now we can put it into the container. Screw it on in the Conqueco, it just snaps together. In the Outin Nano, you just screw it in. Make sure it's tight. Both of these are fully charged. Even though this one says 40 millimeters, I'm gonna put in 50 millimeters just to be fair. I have a pretty accurate OXO cup, and 50 millimeter goes up to 40 millimeter, interestingly. And here's 50 ml. 50 ml in both of them now. The Outin Nano will tell you that it can brew 4 to 5 cups on a full charge. The Conqueco, however, does not tell you how many it can brew. We will test this by trying to brew as many as we can. The Conqueco's cup will nest together, but if you pull it out and turn it slightly, it would stay a little bit higher. For the Outin Nano, there's no need. You just kind of press it in there. That's because there's some pressure relief right here in the seal. Press and hold to start a brew. We'll start the timer and see which one comes out first. The Outin Nano has a progress bar right here. The second indicator means it's done 2 out of 4. The Conqueco doesn't really blink or anything. It just stays on, indicating that it's brewing. If I change the lighting, we can see a little bit more clear, the LEDs. Let's take a peek real quick. The Conqueco is starting to brew here right around 3 minutes. Notice that it won't stay straight. Well, kind of. The Outin comes maybe about 30 seconds after, and it's brewing. We can't see it too well because of the frosted cup, but I can lift it and we can see it's coming out. Definitely no issue of it tilting. It stays perfectly straight. The motor seems to run for the 80 ml instead of the 50 ml. It just keeps on running. It's gonna stop by itself. Yep. Very similar results. I'd say there's a little bit more crema on the Conqueco though, but we'll see how this tastes. My coffee preference is to add cream and sugar. 1 teaspoon of sugar, 4 ounces of almond milk. I brewed both of them with these Pete's caramel flavor pods. Let's give it a try. I can taste a caramel flavor, slight bitterness. Let's see if it tastes the same on the Outin. I need to rinse my mouth first. I'm gonna say it tastes slightly smoother. For the bitterness, it's slightly less bitter. Let me go back to the Conqueco. I expected these to taste almost identical, but I guess it tastes a little bit different, even with the same amount of sugar, same almond milk, same pods. For some reason, the Outin is smoother. When you drink from the Conqueco's cup, I can feel the edges of this cup. It's not rounded, I guess. After switching back and forth, I can still taste that this one is slightly more bitter. It's very, very subtle. And the fact that this cup is a little bit rounded, it also just kind of tastes smoother. This one, tiny bit more bitter. This one, 1.5 to 2 steps smoother. My hypothesis is because of the piercing in the pod. This one is 3. It's a little bit more evenly distributed. This one has only one single hole in the middle. So when it squirts the water in there, it might be over extracting the stuff towards the center. Let's take a look at the coffee inside the pod and see if we can see a difference. Conqueco, one single hole in there. The Outin Nano has 3 separate holes on the edges. The top has a grid where the coffee comes out. The grid looks very similar and the holes are all in the same places. Let's take a look at each pod. There's a divot right in the center, whereas this one has 3 smaller divots. Let's see if it's soft. All right, let's look at this one. It seems like the Conqueco is a little bit wetter, whereas on the Outin Nano, the coffee is a little bit stiffer. There's not as much water that's left over in this pod. You can also tell from the color, this is a little bit wetter than that one. This might be a result of higher pressure in the Outin. You look at the water spots here. There's less water dripping out after I spread it around. See, I can rub it on this paper, whereas on this one, if I rub it, see, it gets a little bit more damp. We can weigh it, 2 pounds, 5 ounces. Outin is 1 pound, 9 ounces. Quite a bit heavier if you're trying to bring this around. With it completely empty, we can charge at 12.6 watts using USB-A. The connector on the Conqueco is a USB-C, so you still have to plug into a USB-A port. The Outin Nano is USB-C on both sides. It's charging at a similar rate, although slightly less at 9.5 watts. Twice as many cups, but it is around twice as heavy. I'm a little bit worried about the boiler being all plastic around the edge on the top. The Outin Nano has stainless steel, so I feel a little bit better about that. You can also upgrade the ground filter portion to an all stainless steel one. With either of these, they're driving the battery very hard. So after about 500 cycles of the entire battery, that's around 2,000 cups, you're probably gonna lose about 20% of the capacity. So you're gonna only be able to brew 3 cups instead of 4, and 6 cups instead of 8. Personally, for a better cup, I would rather recharge this thing. It's lighter weight and I think the materials are better on it. But based on all these tests I've done, you can make your own decision. If you're interested in either of these products, check out my affiliate link down in the video description below. Thanks for watching this video. Until next time.